What is something that is considered kindness but is just basic human decency? I recently found a lost phone in the street and picked it up so it didn't get run over. It was locked but there were some text messages with names. I messaged all those people on Facebook and let them know that I found their friend's phone. I took it home, but didn't hear from anyone, so took it to my local PD and left it with them. Edit, when they opened on Monday. A couple days later the sheriff shows up at my door because I was in possession of a stolen phone. The owner used Find My Phone, saw it was at my house, and called them. Never tried to call the phone, the friends never told him I was trying to return it. It took a lot of explaining that I was just trying to do the right thing. Definitely made me question trying to help. So a few years ago, 15 years ago, I went to do a litter pick for a company for the V Festival in England. We were employed with about 90 other people over 3 days. We'd form a line and march over the grass that was loaded with old tents and rubbish and anything you can imagine. Couple of us found bits of money and this and that. I found a beer cooler and my interest made me open it. I found a set of Mercedes keys, a wallet with about £450 and 2 mega expensive phones. I asked the manager what to do and they said they'd hand them in. I took it upon myself to find out whose phone they belonged to, as one was unlocked. I took the name and number and called them when I got home. An elderly Indian gentleman answered and I explained I'd found his stuff. We arranged to meet up, luckily he was only an hour away, and I delivered his possessions. His wife was so happy to have them back, their car was towed home, that she made me and my family dinner that lasted about a week and a half. Tons of gorgeous Indian food. Just goes to show, hand in stuff rather than keeping it and you may feel like a better person. Edit, thanks for the awards. Edit 2, I think the main reason why I took it upon myself to return the items is that I'd saw what happens to things that turn up on Lost and Found. If they're not claimed, they sell them on, destroy them or the staff keep them. Last year at the beach my son was playing in the water and stepped on an iPhone. I think it was an 8 because it had the circle at the bottom but not a physical button like the versions before it. He brought it to me and it still had some power. I saw there were missed calls and messages from Facebook. Searched the people on Facebook and messaged them. One of the girls got back to me and told me it was her mother's phone and they thought someone stole it but I guess her mother forgot she had it on her when she went in the water. I don't know how that happened but I met up with them that day and gave her the phone back. They tried to give me money and I kept telling them I didn't want it. I would do it again even if I found a nicer newer phone. I would never keep anyone's property, that's bad karma. I got those WTFIs when I turned in a credit card that I found when my husband and I were looking at rents. We went in one to get the feel of it, way before pre-COVID times. Anyways we went in and I laid down and I felt something cold on my leg, saw the credit card and went to the customer service desk. Waited in line then walked up and said I found this credit card, maybe they will come back and ask for it. The lady looked at me like okay, what do you want me to do it with it look, and she kinda rolled her eyes at me. Sorry, I turned in someone's card. If you've ever had your credit card info taken, it's a bitch to go through everything, especially if it is small little purchases over time, and some banks aren't as good as others and you have to try to find receipts for things. It's a nightmare and sorry, I didn't want someone to have to go through that customer service desk lady. I will never understand how someone could just tell me something a person told them in confidence. Like, just don't fucking talk about conversations you've had with people unless it's obviously not a sensitive subject or one the person wouldn't care if you talked about, or the person you're talking to is in the know. And if you think there's a snowball's chance in hell they will be bothered by you talking about it, don't do it. Like I always just say, don't tell me about it when someone starts talking to me and it's about someone else or something they said. Like, just don't do that shit. And really, it's a better way to live life. Like, people can tell if you're someone who does that kind of thing. And I've learned a lot of shit about people most don't know because they know I won't say anything they've told me in confidence, and I'm a good listener. Like if you want gossip so bad, then learn to be someone people can trust. You might not share what they say, but hey, you'll know everything about the people in your group because they know you as the person to talk to if there's something sensitive they want to vent about or a second opinion on. Like behaving in this way helps your relationships so much. Sharing information like that is a great relationship building exercise and people will love you for your discretion. Like I suck at talking to people and I'm a quiet person, but people share random shit with me and vent to me all the time because they know I won't go and blab about it. Like I've known so much shit about people and like deep emotional problems nobody knows about just because I don't go and share stuff like that behind their back. People I'm not even that close with. If you are talking to someone and you start telling them things people told you in confidence, then that person you're blabbing to will know you to be untrustworthy and not to trust you with sensitive information. I used to work for Enterprise as a car mover. There was this girl there who once while waiting for our ride casually dropped her wrapper on the ground. My brain fucking broke. My naive ass just assumed all of the litter was an accident before then. Another time we are in a big van and another driver asked if I could dump her cup out the window so she could throw it away. The same girl told me to just throw it out the window, to which I replied, emboldened by my disappointment of not speaking up the first time, no. It's styrofoam. Her response was something along the lines of, I do this so the convicts that have to pick trash up off the side of the road have something to do. As someone who did community service before, I told her that if there is no garbage to pick up, they take people to do other things, like help out at shelters, trim branches on trees, help with the community outreach programs, etc. Her response was basically, fuck that, then they'll have fun, they're being punished and they shouldn't have fun. People are fucking weird. On the other hand, not holding people up. Like I'm not going to plow through the grocery store aisle sprinting past people, but on the other hand, if you're standing there waiting for someone to grab something from another aisle, maybe not stand in the middle blocking the whole thing. I went for a run this morning. The trail was maybe 6 feet wide and 2 ladies were standing off to the side with one getting something out of the other's backpack. That's fine and whatnot, but the annoying bit was the other 3 people with them just scattered about the trail standing there waiting. They moved when I stopped and asked, but they saw me running towards them, so you'd think they'd have just given room in the first place without having to be explicitly asked for it. I remember being 16 and having a horribly infected eye after I had scratched my cornea. I had to call out for a few days because it was so bad that I couldn't even open my eyes to see my phone to call someone to cover my shift, let alone drive 20 miles to the restaurant to go down the list of people's numbers to call to cover me. The rules were that you had to call your own replacement if you weren't gonna be at work. After having my younger sister dial the number to the restaurant for me, I was told I'd be considered no call no show because I couldn't call, my own replacement, and no, they would not type or send me a picture of the list so I could do it myself. My mom caught wind of this, and she was livid. The next day when she was off, she hauled me to the restaurant, asked for the manager that told me that, and then very loudly and in the main dining area asked why the manager was forcing people with eye infections to be handling people's food. Needless to say, the manager found a replacement and turns out it was no trouble at all. All that story to say that I wholeheartedly agree. I've been served by some people who were feeling unwell and I felt so bad for them. I always leave an even bigger tip than normal because chances are it's not their choice to be there. Can I just say, this goes for all people who are trying to help you, not just waiters? I'm a veterinarian and for some reason, people have been going psycho on their vets and staff lately. Google it. Really, screaming, threatening, cursing, you wouldn't believe the stories. And that's when nobody has made a mistake. God forbid you text someone who'd rather be called or be full on the day they want a nail trim or something. I'm not talking about normal complaining, like this bill seems too high or I've been waiting too long. I'm talking about fuck you, cunt, type of comments said to female colleagues and receptionists, for example. For some reason, right now vet clinics all across the US, and most other countries, actually, are extremely busy and understaffed. For the first time in my lifetime, emergency clinics are closing because they can't get staffing. Pets with actual life-threatening emergencies are not able to get care, or their owners are having to drive them for hours, when obviously some of them don't have hours. People acting like crazed lunatics to vets and support staff are driving people away from the profession in droves. It's such a stressful profession as it is, that little extra of owner meanness just makes it not worth it. Edit to add, I'm still involved in vet clinics, but don't practice anymore, and even if I did I wouldn't and couldn't give specific medical advice on a pet I haven't seen. If you have a sick pet, call your vet or an emergency clinic if your vet is closed. They will help you. For general pet questions on just about anything you can think of, veterinarypartner.com is a great resource, all written by veterinarians. So don't thank me, thank your vet. It'll mean so much to them. My last day working as little waitress before I started my new job, I had the worst people I have ever served come in. I worked at the restaurant for 3 years, and though I had some customers that were not great, this was the first time I had straight up rude people. At first they were fine, joking around and such, but one lady decided her steak wasn't cooked right. I took it back and had them remake the whole plate for her. I come back to check on her a few minutes later and she still doesn't like it. So a guy at the table starts yelling at me about it and how I need to take it off the bill right now, or else he will march back to the kitchen and force them to remake it. I told him I have to get it approved first cause I don't have the power to take it off right there in front of him, and he got all mad at me about that. So I go get it off his bill and drop the ticket off. I don't stick around as obviously I don't want to be around them, and I am now behind by 2 tables cause we were busy and I had taken extra time to help them. So when I go to cash them out they have all left but one guy who was complaining to my coworker, who they decided must be the manager, and when I walked up he said my customer service was bad and I threw the ticket book at them. He tried lecturing me on how it doesn't matter what they do, I should have good customer service. Then he didn't tip me on a $150 ticket because he claimed I threw the book at them when I absolutely did not. So it was okay to yell at me and berate me, but they still expected me to be all smiley and joke with them? No, not even. A dad being a dad to their child. How kind of your husband to watch your child while you run errands. Yeah, he's a great guy, but he's my child's father. Why wouldn't he take care of our kid? Edit, a lot of butthurt comments/PMS. It sounds like they don't understand the question/response I gave, or maybe they are one of the dads that aren't there for their kids. The question was what is considered a kindness but actually human decency. Some people consider a dad being there for their kids as a kindness, that those dads are doing something more than they needed, as if their only part was contributing half the DNA and anything else is extra and absolutely unnecessary. Really, it's them doing their part, which I consider a human decency. My husband and I are equals. We both have done the diapers, taking our kid to doc appointments, etc. Goodness, pre-pandemic days, we did most of our grocery shopping all together as a family. Even then, I'd get comments of what a good father my husband is for even coming to the store. As some replies stated, one of the reasons strangers are so wowed by this because they themselves have not had great fathers/husbands doing their part, which is unfortunate. Even worse, we'd get older men commenting saying they feel bad that my husband was dragged along. A dad being there for their child is not going above and beyond and deserving of some sort of Nobel Peace Prize or something. A dad simply taking care of their child is the bare minimum. I'm sorry for those of you that don't/didn't have that. I recognize there are a lot of relationships that don't work out, sometimes because of the lack of effort from one side. To the moms and dads that are out there trying their absolute best, keep up the great work. If you have a spouse that seems to be less than there for your kid, please communicate with each other with your needs. Both moms and dads need a break sometimes to do shopping on their own. My father likes to talk about how he's a stay-at-home dad now, really taking care of the kids while his wife, number 4, brings home the bacon. People in my hometown find it charming and refreshing and often praise him for it. Turns out, Dad likes to take the kids to their grandparents' house, or step-grandparent, if it's his week with his other kids. Now, he lives in the south, it's not unusual to drop in on Nana unannounced with the kids to hang out for a few hours. Except Dad will literally drop them off, take an hours-long bike ride while Nana feeds and entertains the kids, and I'm talking like a 4 or 5 hour 50-mile trail ride. Then he'll gather them up, take them home, then call me to bitch about how he's been dealing with the kids all damn day and how he can't wait for his ex to come get the other two, but Nana will post pictures on FB of the kids playing with her and Dad nowhere in sight. But sure. Praise him for being a stay-at-home dad. Kind of related but kind of unrelated. Someone below mentioned invisible disabilities though, so I want to add on to that a bit. My disability is invisible, though it is a nerve and musculoskeletal injury leaving me at 22 with constant pain. I was at Disney a few years ago and I waited 20 minutes for a handicapped bathroom stall, as people walked in and out of the many non-handicapped stalls. I waited my turn patiently in the line. Finally my turn, so I head into the stall. The two ladies behind me in the line, which was right outside my stall, were older ladies using those electric scooter things. Basically, the second I get into the stall, the one lady loudly proclaims to the other, "Oh my god, I can't believe we have to wait so long because people who aren't disabled keep using the handicap stalls." Like, bitch, do you think I wanted to sit there patiently for 20 minutes in horrible pain, just to hold you up? So yes, 100% agreeing with your statement, but also keep in mind the people who don't look disabled and may be younger if you see them struggling. Basic human decency all the time, but especially if you see someone needing help / struggling, disabled or not. After working in retail and having to develop amateur skills of a mental health professional, let someone have a bad day. I find shops stressful myself, lots of people around and walking at you from all directions, loud music, making sure you're not being pickpocketed, hoping not break anything as you browse. I found 90% of customers to be just fine, I'd then say that 8% were just having a bad day. By staying calm and speaking quietly, rather than raising the tone of the conversation, more often than not I'd find they would eventually apologize and generally confide in me their bad day. And then the next time they were in, they made sure to say hello. Kind of feel the same way with some subreddits such as r/idiots in cars. We've all been an idiot in a car once in our lives. Pressure and having a shit day does that to you. I just think we're a bit too happy to jump on people when they act a bit differently to how we're expecting them to. No excuse for bad manners, but I do feel you could explain 5 out of 10 public freakouts just by giving a bit of space and time. Not freaking out at people and calmly talking issues out like adults. At work I have a coworker who was once seen as popular with coworkers and is still well liked by some, but things changed when I started working there. She hates my guts and I noticed she flips her lid at the slightest inconvenience. Someone from another crew returned borrowed tools that are now dirty. Cue weeks and weeks of bitching to anyone who will listen about how incompetent they are. Someone starts a project she thinks is a waste of time. She will either go out of her way to avoid doing work or bitch about it during the whole project. Not long after I started, coworkers would come to me asking to borrow things or work on projects because it turns out I'm more patient and understanding. If someone returns dirty tools, I just ask them to not do that again, or to remember to return them once done. People find me easier to talk to and it pisses her off that coworkers don't hate me like she does. She's tried bitching about me to others who have come back telling me they wouldn't engage with her and another saying she yelled back and told her to calm down and shut up. Perhaps this is more of me venting, but my point is that it's crazy that talking things out and being reasonable is seen as kindness or something extraordinary. Edit, spelling, whoops. Yesterday I was waiting for some friends when I noticed an interaction between a man in his 40s and a young woman, later found out she was actually 17. Something didn't sit right with me as she seemed quiet and like she didn't want to talk to him. I stepped in. I'm 5'8", so not very imposing, but I tried to make myself as big as possible, and told him to fuck off, which led to a discussion in which he tried to insult my intelligence, height, and the fact that I dared to bother him. I didn't let it faze me and he got the message and left after a while. The group the girl was in, 4 people, was super grateful and told me how kind they thought I was, and I was just stunned, cause this shouldn't be considered kindness, it should be completely normal. I hung out with their group a bit and got them some water while I also calmed down a bit. Later a guy standing a few feet beside us asked if we knew this guy, and while he was disapproving of his behavior after we told him that we didn't know the creep, it was odd to me that he didn't step in at all, even though he was closer to them than me before the escalation and would probably have been met with a bit more respect. If you see something, say something.